Hello and welcome once again to another edition of Take Pride in Retirement. I'm Matt McClure, your host, your advisor, your friend, your pal, and your confidant. Thanks so much for being a part of things. This is the podcast where we empower LGBTQ plus individuals and couples to live proudly and plan wisely for the retirement they deserve. Whether you're planning for retirement with a partner, with a spouse, chosen family, on your own, whatever your situation is, this show is really like, the safe space for you, because those are the issues that we address each and every time we get together. And we talk about smart financial strategies with pride at the center of everything that we focus on. So, if you're listening from my hometown of Atlanta, if you're in other sort of gay meccas around the country, whether you're in Palm Springs or Provincetown or anywhere in between, if you are in the middle of flyover country, thank you so much for being a part of things. I'm so glad that you're here. Of course, before we kind of dive into everything, I want to say that you can always reach out to me. A couple of ways to do that. TakePrideInRetirement.com is the website. It's TakePrideInRetirement.com. And you can go there. A lot of stuff that you can do, actually. No, I don't like games or anything that you can play on the website, but maybe I should look into that and get more web traffic. But I'd go there myself more often, probably. But no, seriously, though, you can see a nice welcome video there from me, learn a little bit more about me, my life, and why I do what I do. But you can also reach out to me with any questions that you might have. You can schedule a complimentary consultation about your financial situation, see if you want to get your house in order financially speaking, or if your house is already in financial order. I'll let you know that. And, that would be the emphasis is like, just analyzing your situation and telling you where you are. And if you're in a great spot, that's awesome. And we don't have to continue working together at all beyond that, beyond just sort of the analysis phase, right? But if I can improve things and 9 times out of 10, I can, then I will. And we can continue working together and work those things out. But that's really why I do what I do, is to help people's situations financially be better so that you are prepared for your retirement years, and making sure that you're doing the little things and the big things and all of the things in between to make sure that you've, got all of those T's crossed and I's dotted, as it were. So TakePrideInRetirement.com, that's the website. Bunch of stuff there, including all the past episodes of the podcast. You can subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. Yes, I'm on all the biggies out there. It's Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, Audible, anywhere you can think of that might have podcasts available. Chances are I'm there. And so please subscribe all the places so you get annoyed with a bunch of notifications. No, wherever you get your podcast, just subscribe there. I would love it. It really helps us grow the show and spread the good word. And of course, leave us a nice rating and some wonderful comments there. I'd appreciate that. If you don't like us, keep it to yourself. And you could also give me a call, 855-246-9211, 855-246-9211. That is the number to call for that free consultation. I'm also on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I am on Threads as Take Pride in Retirement at all of those places. Of course, the YouTube channel is very active these days as well, with several new videos each and every week. So yeah, we're doing a lot here at Take Pride in Retirement. And so I really appreciate you being along for at least part of the ride. All right. So we've got a packed episode today, a lot of great, powerful strategies and insights into your finances. And we're going to talk about annuities to start off with. Annuities 101. It's kind of like the base level. Okay, what is an annuity? Man, I may have heard about annuities before. I know the term. I might have heard some bad things about them, some good things about them, somewhere kind of, in between, sort of lukewarm things about them. We're going to kind of do a bit of, not necessarily the deepest of dives, but a deep enough dive so that kind of what annuities are all about, and the fact that, some are good, some are bad, some are good in some situations and not others. It all depends on your current situation and your finances, right? So that's what we're going to look at first of all. Also, it can be tough in life, at least for me, if you're kind of like the personality type that I am, to sort of declare victory about things, right? I'm not like such a, I hate to use this word for obvious reasons, but braggadocious. I'm not a very braggadocious kind of person, but so, that can make it hard to be sort of like, yeah, I won this thing, or I have conquered my foes, or whatever, just declaring victory in whatever way you want to declare victory in. But we're going to talk a bit about how to declare victory in your finances, in that the closer you get to retirement, if you've done all of the things, if you've checked the boxes along the way, if you have that nest egg saved up, if you've got all the, if you've maxed out those contributions to your 401k every year, if you've maxed out your contributions to your IRA, a Roth account, whatever it might be, then you're in a good place when you get close to retirement, and then you've already won the game. Declare victory, right? Don't then say, okay, why? I've already won, but I'm going to keep on playing. You got to then move into protection mode and protect what you've earned, protect what you have, and what you've invested, and what you've saved over the years. So that's what that's going to be about. We'll talk about some market volatility. Of course, we've seen more of that rearing its ugly head here lately. So we'll talk about it and some strategies there to weather any volatility that might come your way. We'll talk about hidden fees that tend to drag you down, how to eliminate those, and really just, overall focus on building a portfolio that reflects your values and your goals in life. Most important thing is making sure that your goals are met and that you're able to meet your goals with the finances that you have at your disposal. We'll get you there. All right. First, though, let's, as we always do, get a little inspiration for our conversation, shall we? And we'll do that with our quote of the week.
And now for some financial wisdom. It's time for the quote of the week.
And this week's quote, kind of like last week's, is an anonymous quote, but this one, probably is from someone who owned a calculator and wore sequins, because I love this. Found this just today, actually, as I was doing some last minute research for the show. And it says this: you deserve a retirement as fabulous as you are, but only if you plan for it. You deserve a retirement as fabulous as you are, but only if you plan for it. Everybody, and that's why I always say, like, no matter who you are, where you come from, who you love, how you identify, how much money you have, you deserve a retirement you can take pride in, period. But you've got to do the planning along the way. And if you feel like you're behind, maybe if you're getting closer to the retirement years, maybe that date you've circled on the calendar, you're getting closer to that date, but you don't feel quite ready, I would love to help you get ready. First of all, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. But you stay ready and get ready so that you can stay ready, right? For the long term. That's what it's all about. And that's what this show is all about. And, by and large, that is what annuities can be all about for your retirement plan. And yeah, we're going to talk a bit about annuities, what they are and how they work, right? I mean, these are probably, you've over the years, if you've heard anything about annuities, you've probably heard some misinformation about annuities, because there are people out there who just badmouth annuities, who are trying to sell you something else, basically. And that's why they badmouth annuities. And they are either people who are doing that, or there are people who just don't understand what annuities are and have believed the bad things that they have heard about them without actually doing the research and learning about annuities. I've done the research. I have taken classes. I've gotten certifications. I've done all of the things. So as a matter of fact, if you watch the video version of the show over on YouTube, you can see, or if you're watching YouTube right now, hi, you can see down at the bottom of the screen, the behind my name, it says Matt McClure, CAS. Well, CAS actually stands for Certified Annuity Specialist. And so that certification is something that I have studied for and am proud to put behind my name, because it means that, yeah, I've taken the time to actually learn what annuities really are, and not, any of the misinformation and disinformation that's out there. I can help you sift through and see through that. So basically, kind of in their most basic form, an annuity is a financial contract between you and an insurance company, a life insurance company, generally speaking, because you'll often see like, so and such, and we'll just say Acme, for lack of a better term. So I'm not calling out a one particular carrier or anything, but it'll be like Acme Life and Annuity Insurance Company, right? Something like that is usually kind of in the name of the company. And so what happens is you pay in either in a lump sum or you can pay over time in a lot of cases. Sometimes you can pay in a big lump sum in the beginning. And then if you want to add more in that premium, which is that's what it's called. It's like paying an insurance premium, basically. So, it's an insurance company. So they use kind of that terminology, right? So that insurance premium, that annuity premium that you pay up front, in many cases, you can then, depending on the structure of the contract, add to it within the first year or 18 months or something like that, if you want to put more money to work for you inside it. And so then in return, that insurer is going to pay you regular income for a certain period of time, whether that is for a certain number of years. You can structure them that way, especially with something that is like a single premium immediate annuity that we call a SPIA, SPIA. Those, generally speaking, you can structure to be paid out for a certain number of years or for life or any other, type of period of time, I guess I should say, a payout period. You can structure it where, it's for your own lifetime or for your spouse's lifetime and your lifetime. So like, you would still get payments even after your spouse were to pass away or vice versa. And there are other different ways to structure it as well. And, so you get those regular income payments, and those are payments that are guaranteed for whatever the specified time period is. And when I say that, I mean that because it's like, if you have a lifetime payout, no matter how long your life is, you're going to continue to get that payout. I mean, if you live to be 150 years old, you're going to keep getting those monthly payments, or however, you structure it. You can do quarterly, you can do yearly a lot of times. But you'll continue to get those payments until you're 150 years old, or 170, or whatever modern science is going to bring us. But I think annuities are super important for LGBTQ plus folks, especially, and for a couple of reasons. The first one being that many of us don't have access to pensions. That's true in general, but it's really true for LGBTQ plus folks as well, because a lot of the more, I guess you can say traditional companies in air quotes a little bit, are ones that may still offer a pension, which is and basically an annuity as well. You work for a company for a certain number of years, you become eligible for that pension after that certain number of years. Let's say if you work there for 40 years, like people used to, then you retire at the end of that fourth decade, and then you retire and you get the gold watch, you get the pension, and that's payments for the rest of your life. It's, an annuity sometimes you'll hear referred to, and I'll refer to it sometimes as a personal pension. It's really what it is. So a lot of people don't have access to those because, especially in the LGBTQ plus community, the companies that might still offer them haven't maybe necessarily been the most friendly to the LGBTQ plus community. May not have access as well to Social Security benefits as far as spousal benefits go, if you're not married, or if you have a relationship that was not legally recognized up until maybe recently, like that can be a thing as well. If your marriage wasn't recognized until later on in life, then, maybe you don't have a spousal benefit that you can take advantage of. And that's why personal pensions like annuities are critical as far as income goes in retirement. Income is really what it's all about in retirement. And I know if you've listened to the show before, I've talked about this, and I will continue to talk about it until I'm blue in the face, because it's so true. You've got to have income streams. I've worked with many clients now, and folks who are exploring becoming clients as well. And they sometimes will have a fear of giving up the control over that big nest egg, right? And that's a real thing. And I will not ever downplay that at all, because, especially if you have maybe a health issue or something like that, and you are, this is what you have, your nest egg is what you have. And maybe you are on disability, for example, and you're not going to be able to work and earn any more to be able to put into that 401k or whatever, then it can be a concern. And I get that. I really, really do. And my job, though, as a financial advisor, is to take that worry off the table for you. I'll worry about it so you don't have to, in other words, right? And I do this kind of thing each and every day for folks. And that's why I love doing what I do. One of the many reasons I love doing what I do is seeing the smile on the face of somebody who is like, oh, I've been worrying about all of this for so long and I didn't have to be worrying about it. That's pretty awesome. And yeah, it is. It can be pretty darn awesome to just have that weight lifted off of your shoulders. And so, there are a lot of people, and you hear people, as I've said, talking bad-mouthing annuities, and there are people who generally either A, don't understand them, or B, are trying to sell you something else. The truth about annuities is that they are the ones that are around today. There are several different kinds. And if you hear anyone say all annuities are bad, they do not know what they are talking about. And, or even worse, they do know what they're talking about and they are lying to you and to your face because you cannot just make a blanket statement like that all annuities are bad, because it's not true. All annuities could be bad for you in your situation. Sure. An annuity might be the wrong thing for you. It could be the perfect thing for your situation. My job as a fiduciary is to work with you to determine what's best for your situation. And if it's an annuity, great. If it's not, great. So anyone who makes those blanket statements like that, they're not a fiduciary. They're not acting in fiduciary capacity, certainly, because, they're making a blanket statement without knowing you, without knowing your financial situation. And my job is to do a deep dive into your financial situation so that I do know and can come up with a plan that's based on reality and not some, talking point about all of these kinds of things are bad. And so the reality is, no, all annuities are not bad. There are options. There are fixed annuities, which are kind of the more traditional annuity out there. You will get a guaranteed rate of growth for a certain number of years. And then you're able to turn on income, and you can do it in many ways, lifetime income or life with period certain, which is like a certain number of years, right? So let's say you have a 10-year period certain. So you're guaranteed to get payments for that 10-year period. If you live beyond that, you will still get payments beyond that until you die. But if you were to die before that period of time is up, then there would still be remaining period certain type payments. Those could potentially go to a beneficiary, that kind of thing. So there are different ways to structure it. So that's fixed. You get that guaranteed rate of growth each year. And that rate of growth may not be the highest rate of growth. It could be like a rate of growth as compared to like a CD, like a bank CD kind of a thing. You could probably think of it that way in some cases. And in other cases, there can be quite a bit more than that. We can explore options out there for you. So that's fixed, right? Then you've got variable. Variable I don't like to work with a lot because it takes away a lot of the guarantees. One of the big things that I like about annuities, particularly a fixed annuity or especially a fixed indexed annuity, which is kind of like a fixed annuity and a variable annuity got together and had a baby. And I'll explain that in a minute. But one of the things that I like about those types of annuities is they offer guarantees where, your principal is protected, your growth that's credited to the account, that's protected because you're not invested directly in the market. So you're not subject to the downside of the market. You have the upside potential of market-like gains in something like an indexed annuity, a fixed indexed annuity. But you don't have that downside risk. So with a variable annuity, though, that money is invested in the market. And so all of it is at risk. So if you were to lose everything, you lose everything. The market has a really bad year, it has a really bad year, and so does your variable annuity. But if you invest in a fixed indexed annuity, and it, takes those two terms, fixed and indexed, and marries them together with a hyphen, and becomes an FIA, as we refer to them in the biz. And what it does is you, as I said a moment ago, get that upside potential of the market, but without the downside risk, right? Because your principal is protected, the growth that's credited is protected. You'll get the growth credited over a certain period of time. That could be once a year. It could be monthly. It could be once every other year, or even once every 5 years, or once every 7 years. I've seen those as well. And so with a fixed indexed annuity, though, that money is not directly invested in the market, but the growth of it is tied to a particular market index, say the S&P 500, or say a proprietary index like the BNP Paribas Global H Factor Index, right? That is one that is used out there with one particular annuity that I happen to like. But there are all different kinds of indices or indexes, if you prefer, that you can tie them to on the growth side, but the downside is not something that you have to worry about because you have that level of protection. Of course, they've got to be, it's backed by the claims paying ability of the issuer. And I only work with reputable ones. Those are the only ones that I really recommend to folks, or these, companies that have been around a long time, not some fly-by-night operation. And so I want to make sure that your money is as safe as humanly possible. And one of the things too that is offered through an annuity is, on the income side, you can either choose immediate income in something like maybe a fixed annuity or a SPIA, which is that SPIA, the single premium immediate annuity. That's the I in SPIA is immediate. So you can choose something like that immediate income. And even with SPIAs, a lot of times you can defer your income payments for up to a year, right? So you can do that. You can also add riders for lifetime income. You can have death benefits, cost of living adjustments, all in that immediate income, or you can defer your income for a certain number of years. Now, I said, immediate income annuities, a lot of times you can even delay those payments for up to a year. Well, with something like a fixed indexed annuity, you can defer that income for several years to give that annuity time to grow, to give that income benefit base, which is the number that they use to calculate how much income you're going to get paid out each and every year when you turn on income. That number gets to grow, tied to that market index. But zero is your hero, as we say. It doesn't go down. If the market has a bad year, then you are protected and you sit at zero growth, but you don't lose your shirt like a lot of other people have in years like, 2008, 2009, even going back to, was it 2022? There was a down year in the market then. So, it was really eye-opening when I, a few years back, started learning about all of these different things that I didn't even necessarily know existed. And that's why I like sharing them here on the show, because they do exist. And remember, you can also name beneficiaries on these as well. You will name beneficiaries in annuities also. And you can name, whomever you choose, your chosen family, as beneficiaries. You're not bound by, sort of outdated definitions of family on that part. You can name your chosen family member or members as a beneficiary. And so you got options. And, people love having options. I know I love having options in life. And so, what I would encourage you to do is reach out to me if you would like to explore an annuity for that lifetime income, to add another layer of protection for your retirement years, as far as the income goes, as far as those guarantees go, and just explore what the possibilities might be. If you have a situation that's not right for an annuity, I will tell you, and I'll just be upfront and honest with you about it. There's no skin off my nose, if that saying makes sense in this context. No skin off my nose if it's not a good thing for you. If it is a good thing for you, I'll definitely let you know and show you why. I'll explain why and how, and we'll do something that you feel comfortable with. My job is not to force you into doing anything. My job is to bring you along where you get to a better place financially, because that is my job, is to get you to a better place financially. So reach out, takeprideinretirement.com. It's takeprideinretirement.com. You can also call 855-246-9211, 855-246-9211. The call is, of course, free. The message, sending that on takeprideinretirement.com, absolutely free. The consultation, absolutely free, of any cost or any obligation. You'll only work with me if we both, sort of mutually feel that that's the best thing to do. All right. So, we talked earlier, as I was kind of teeing up what was coming up on the show, we sort of mentioned earlier about declaring victory, right? And a lot of times people think of that in like a sports kind of a context. And it's so funny because I just have to tell this. My husband had an audition the other day. Yeah, he's an actor. He had an audition the other day for something that was sports related, and he was supposed to be like sitting watching a game on TV. And, as an actor who has spent much of his life in the musical theater, it doesn't necessarily come the most naturally to him, but he does a great job with it. But he's sort of has to like force himself into the, caring about sports and that whole mindset. And so he got through with one of the takes, and he said, he was like, sitting there, he's watching the imaginary TV in front of him, and he's, yeah, touchdown or whatever. And then he goes, woo, sports. And I just cracked up. But you think about, declaring victory, you think about sports a lot of times, sports analogies and things like that. But what we are talking about here is really protecting what you've built. And the way that those two things go together is, if you are at a certain point in life where you have saved up and invested and done all the things, and you've got a good size nest egg, whatever that means for you, then you need to go to a place where you declare victory. You've won the game. Don't keep playing the game, right? Protect what you have, protect what you've built. And as members of the LGBTQ plus community, a lot of us have had to build up our financial security from the ground up, because, we face things like wage gaps, employment discrimination, patchy legal protections, depending on where you might be in the country or around the world. So it's even more important, I feel like, for our community to have the mindset of, once you've built your nest egg, protect it. That's so essential, to protect that nest egg that you've worked so hard for. And that's where the declaring victory part comes in. If you're in your mid 70s or older, let's say, or you're just feeling more conservative about risk, consider locking in those gains. Move from aggressive growth to preservation. And that could mean shifting to more stable investments like fixed annuities, fixed indexed annuities, CDs, cash reserves even, but not cash under the mattress, because that's not doing anybody any good. Cash in the bank, where you've got the FDIC insurance on it, where you've got potential for some growth, at least in an interest rate that's being earned on that money. And protect your partner, your husband, your wife, your whomever, your chosen family, with proper legal documentation. That's part of that, protecting what you have, protecting what you've earned in life. Protect them with wills, healthcare proxies, powers of attorney. And that way, no matter what happens outside of our sort of purview, our circle of influence, our sphere of influence here as individuals, that you are taken care of from a legal standpoint. And those steps are going to help make sure that your wishes get honored and that your legacy is secure going forward. It really is essential to make sure that you declare victory when you have won the game, and not keep playing for the sake of keep playing. Because if you keep playing, you could end up losing the game, because you've still got that risk there that exists. So protect what you've saved, bottom line. Okay, so let's dive in now to some more safe money strategies, because we've got some uncertain times upon us. I know that for several months now, I've been talking about uncertainty, about, nobody knows what's going to happen. And a lot of things have happened over the past several months here that have made the markets get very choppy. They have made a few more gray hairs pop up on my head, I know, and others have experienced the same thing, or maybe the hair has either turned gray or turned loose. But there are things that you can do to secure your retirement the closer you get to retirement and weather whatever economic storm may come. So, of course, annuities we talked about. They are essential in a lot of cases to provide that safety, to provide the income that you can turn on for the rest of your life, no matter how long that life may be. They are, essential for, providing those guarantees that you can't get a lot of other places. So they have, those pros working on their side. So we talked about annuities. That's a good, safe money strategy. And so, with all the volatility that's been in the market here lately, I wanted to go through some more though. Number one is important, I think, for everyone to have some cash reserves. And I mentioned it a moment ago, don't, keep the cash in a safe or under your mattress or in your pillowcase. Not a good idea, because it's not doing anybody any good there. You're not getting any growth whatsoever. You want to at least make sure that you've put it in a bank where it's going to get some growth, maybe in a high yield savings account, something like that, where you could possibly be, keeping up with inflation at least, if that's possible in a high yield savings account type environment. But you want to make sure that you have that money somewhere where it is liquid. Don't lock it away in a CD where you can't get to it for a certain number of years. You should have at least 4 to 6 months of expenses, those bare essential expenses, in a liquid account. Money market fund, for example. I mentioned high yield savings. Something like that where you can get to that money when you need it, and that gives you breathing room when the markets get choppy like they have been here lately. The second thing that I want to talk about may seem a little bit counterintuitive, but I think it's a very smart thing to do, no matter who you are, but to really, keep your situation as strong as it can be. And that is to max out your retirement contributions, especially if you're behind, especially if you're catching up on your savings. If you're over 50, you can contribute up to $31,000 to a 401k. If you're between the ages of 60 and 63, super catch-up contribution limits let you even put in more than that. So then, that way, if you're behind, you don't have to stay behind for long. You can actually get those contributions, where you are caught up, because it's the standard contribution limit. If you're under the age of 50, it's $23,500 for the year 2025. Then the catch-up contributions between the ages of, 50 to 59, that is an extra $7,500. And then enhanced catch-up contributions between the ages of 60 to 63, that's another $11,250. So you can max out those contributions to really ramp up what you're going to have in retirement. Number 3 is to rethink your Social Security claiming strategy. This has been on my mind a lot lately because I've been doing some studying for a Social Security certification. And this could be a great option for you, especially if you have longevity on your side, because if you delay claiming Social Security until age 70, your benefit increases by up to 8% each year. So that's an 8% raise you're giving yourself past your full retirement age. So let's say your full retirement age is 67. If you retire at age 70, you get 124% of what your benefit would have been at age 67, plus cost of living adjustments and all of that going forward. So that can be huge, especially if you're single or if you are not married to your partner and they're not eligible for survivor benefits. And here's the thing, that's one of those reasons. If you are not married, you might want to think about it. I'm not telling you what to do, but that's one of the benefits that are afforded to married people. And now that, marriage equality has been the law of the land for about almost 10 years, thanks to a Supreme Court ruling that, you should take advantage of. So, we're at least seen as equal members of society in that way. Number 4, budget smarter. People don't necessarily like the word budget. It's like a 4-letter word that's got more than 4 letters in it. But budget smarter, categorize your expenses. And the way that I like to sort of think about it is categorizing them into needs, wants, and wishes, right? Those needs are, of course, the essentials. They're the roof over your head. They're something to drive, or if you live in a big metro area, used to be the Metro card in New York, or now it's Omni, I guess, in New York, to ride the subway, or whatever means of transportation. In other words, it's the utilities, it's all of those things. And then there are the wants. Like, oh, it would be nice to have this. It would be nice if I could, get a new kitchen sink because the one that's there works fine, but it's too shallow, or it doesn't hold a lot of stuff, and it's just getting kind of old. Like, that's kind of a thing that would be nice to have. Those are your wants. And then your wishes, I like to think of those as like the big ticket things. Like, you're saving up for some big trip. You're saving up for some, grand vacation, some, big house remodeling thing. Like, those are kind of the wishes, the big things. And focus your spending on what truly matters. Make sure that you have categorized all of that stuff and that you're putting the right amount into each of those categories. And also, I wanted to mention before we run here in just a minute, one of the things that I love doing for people, and go to takeprideinretirement.com and schedule a consultation, because I love actually taking kind of a deep dive into people's finances and finding out how much they're paying in fees. Takeprideinretirement.com is the website. The number 855-246-9211, 855-246-9211. That's the phone number once again. And, I love when I get to speak with people who don't have a clue how much they're paying in fees, because the look on their face when I actually reveal to them how much they're paying in fees and didn't even know it, a lot of times is kind of crazy. So the high fees that you are probably paying inside your portfolio that you don't even know about can sort of quietly eat away at your retirement savings. Kind of like, let's imagine that you've just bought your dream home and then you find out several months later that you've got termites and your home is not stable. And so what you're going to do, you got to shore things up, right? You've got to make sure that repairs are made. You want to avoid having to make the repairs to begin with by not having hidden fees inside that portfolio. So let's say, if you invest $100,000 for 25 years at a 6% annual return, no fees gets you to $430,000, right? So if you invest $100,000 for 25 years, you get 6% annual rate of return. If you pay no fees, that gets you to $430,000. But even just a 0.5% fee can drop that to $379,000. And at 2%, you're left with just $260,000. And that can be $170,000 in this example lost to fees. So if you are paying too much in fees, I want to talk to you. Review your statements, use an online fee calculator, consider a fiduciary advisor, someone who is working in your best interests, who, only charges a flat, percentage that is low to be able to maintain your accounts, and be able to, really work for you, get you a greater rate of return for less in fees and by taking less risk. And a lot of times that is truly possible. I've seen it happen many, many times here. And keep in mind, a lot of the fees out there are invisible. They're sort of baked into fund performance, but they're real and they can really hurt your portfolio. They can really hurt its performance. And the thing too that I wanted to mention as the last thing of the show this time around, retirement planning, we talk a lot about the numbers, right? And it's a focus of the show. It sort of has to be because, we talk about the dollars and cents of it all when it comes to retirement planning. And that's just a fact. Another fact, though, is that retirement planning is not just about the numbers. It's about your values. And your portfolio should reflect who you are and the life that you want to live. If you want to support the environment or LGBTQ plus equality, consider funds or investments that are supportive of those causes. If you want to travel more or you want to support your favorite causes, maybe in retirement as well, align things with those goals. Align your cash flow to go to those things. Create short-term cash reserves, for example. 2 to 4 years, short-term bonds, maybe. Diversify across stocks, bonds, income-producing assets. And yes, keep reviewing what you have working for you to make sure that it is still working for you at least once a year. And make sure that your plan protects your spouse or your partner, even if you're not legally married. Don't leave it up to chance. Don't leave it up to state law. Don't leave it up to, probate, the probate court. They're not going to look out for you and your best interest. Make sure that what your wishes are what happens. And so that's the message I kind of want to leave you with for this particular edition of the show. And, I want you to invest and to save and to plan with pride so that you can have a retirement that you can take pride in. Because as I always say, no matter who you are, where you come from, who you love, how you identify, or how much money you got, it does not matter. You deserve a retirement that you can take pride in. And that I want to help you get there. I want to help you reach that goal as much as I possibly can. And I know that I can help you if you feel like you're behind, if you feel like you are just not where you need to be. Get in touch. I am here for you. No judgment. It's advice that'll be tailored for you. It'll be affirming to you and your unique journey. Whether you're, just getting started, maybe you're already in retirement. I'm here to protect what you've built and plan for the years ahead that should be filled with all kinds of fun and joy and pride in your retirement. So go to takeprideinretirement.com. takeprideinretirement.com. 855-246-9211 is the number. 855-246-9211. You can schedule that free consultation. Once again, it's free of any cost or any obligation. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the show, folks. Thank you, as always, for joining. I really do appreciate your time. Hope you've got something out of it. I hope you're feeling informed and empowered, just ready to take pride in your plan. All right? Thanks so much once again for listening. Really do appreciate it. I'll see you next time for another edition of the show. And until then, take pride in yourselves and take care of each other. See you then.